I'm sick of being a consumer. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pack up and leave. I'm going to be a minimalist. For those who don't know what a minimalist is, it's somebody who survives on the very minimal things. And I consider myself a minimalist, where I don't need a whole lot of things and clothing and stuff to survive. I just use what I need, or I need what I use or whatever. And so anyway, he moved out of the States and went to Costa Rica, and he took quite a few people with him. Now, this Nature Boy, he has quite a few followers on YouTube. He has over 40,000, and I don't know how many worldwide he has. So he's got all these people, believe in him. Hey, let's stop being consumers. Let's move into nature. We're going to live on the ground and all this other stuff. And so about a week or so ago, he produces this I guess a YouTube video, because that's YouTube channel. And he kind of went off. He was like, it's natural. Sex is natural. We shouldn't be hiding sex from kids. My 2-year-old son, I make love to his mother in front of him while he's laying there. He's watching. I walk around naked in front of the kid, and the kids or whatever. It's natural. And if he comes up to me, he has to pull on my penis. I let him pull on my penis. You guys should see Donovan's face. Pull on my penis is natural. There's nothing wrong with it. And so, of course, a lot of people in the Black community took him to task, calling him a pedophile and all these other things. And so Hannah was more or less like, okay, where do we draw the line? When are we going to stop following some of these leaders? Now, admittedly, there's a lot of leaders who have flaws. Like, your Malcolm X, we know he wasn't perfect. He did almost 10-year stint in prison for some things he shouldn't have done. As we know, Martin Luther King, he was flawed. There's some exposés coming out about him. Elijah Muhammad, Marcus Garvey, even so we have all these flawed leaders. But at what point do we draw the line and say, okay, you can no longer lead us? Your leadership has been revoked. When do we do that? No, I'm not talking I knew somebody was going to say Ric Flair. We're not talking about Ric Flair. So I'm going to get to you guys' comments so you guys can maybe address, when do we say enough is enough, and where do we draw the line as far as our leaders being flawed? Go ahead. I
just have a quick question for you. So,
yeah.
Like in a leader like Corrine Brown, who brings in Martin Luther King III and Jesse Jackson to be character references for her in her sentencing.
She's going down for
him.
Corrine Brown, for you guys who don't know, she is the embattled, Congresswoman in Florida who kind of stole a lot of money.
Right, ex-Congresswoman.
Ex-Congresswoman stole a lot of money from her.
No, she stole it from a kids' charity.
A kids' charity, so she's getting ready to be sentenced.
She's facing 300 and something, 258 years in prison at 70-something years old.
And she's old.
Yeah, so.
Okay, so Al says, good God Almighty, with your fine self. Well, thank you, baby. Thank you. Hey, Quentin, what's happening? And Benny says, good afternoon, everybody. Al says, Nature Boy. No, we ain't talking about Ric Flair. We ain't talking about woo. And I heard that he had a 30 for 30 special
30 for 30 special, right.
And another good friend of mine who follows wrestling says, you shouldn't be putting up Ric Flair anymore on our things because he's racist. And so I said, okay, we need to look into that.
Again, okay. Thank you for telling us how we should run our show.
But I didn't know he was racist, though.
He isn't racist.
Okay, well, I don't follow wrestling.
Yeah,
News to me.
He isn't racist. Have you ever seen some of his bouts? He would get out of a car with 30 women, black, white, Asian, handicap, whatever.
Oh, stop it. And then Kip says, I think he's weird as F. Homie needs guidance his damn self. Yeah, that's just a little bit weird. And Benny, you say, we will stop falling for it when we get out of this dependency on leaders and figure out that you are the leaders that you've been waiting for. Absolutely. And that's going to tie into a little bit of my other questions that I got from you guys. Absolutely. I've never even heard of Nature Boy until I saw a bunch of people posting a video. So I scrolled by it a couple times. And I was like, okay, what is this dude talking about? Why is everybody so up in arms about it? And it's about not even a 2-minute long video, but I was blown away. Like, he's saying it's okay for his son to grab his penis because it's natural.
Okay, the question is, do you agree with what he's saying?
No, I don't agree with it. I mean, because his whole thing is, it's we've been westernized to think that kind of stuff is unnatural. Hey, Brian. He says we've been programmed to think the way of Western world is natural, but we've been brainwashed, and it's natural to be able to walk around the kids naked and, you know, do all the things and have sex with their mom in front of them. And so, you know, us being in America, westernized, I guess you could say, we kind of think that's a little weird. It's like, why does a kid need this? I guess he maybe wants to be like animals in Wild Kingdom or something.
Let me ask you this. I have a degree in history. I've traveled the world, and most of your civilizations, they do cover up. Name me a civilization where they didn't cover up.
Well, yeah, I guess he wants to be more like animals instead of people. Okay. And so, Brian, you say, you're out of your mind if you think Ric Flair isn't racist. We're going to do our research, Brian, because, you know, I want to stay, you know, I want to stay right. I don't want to be, you know, representing people who aren't representing us. I don't know. We're going to find out. But you know what? Brian is the wrestling aficionado. So I got to he loves wrestling. So I have to take his word. I mean, this dude like eats and breathes wrestling. But anyway, we'll get back to that. And Hannah says, hey, I'm covering your topic as we speak. And Brian says he held back so many black wrestlers. Ooh. And Happy also say naked and perverted is two different things. Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree. I think our kids have all seen us naked to one degree or another. Maybe they didn't want to, but they did. But to say, here, come play with my genitals, it's natural. And then you're going to get on YouTube and talk about it.
Well, I mean, you know, when we're little, at a certain age, you know.
His son is little.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And you as a mom and things like that, I mean, it isn't uncommon for you to shower with your infant child.
To a certain age, right. But to... And to me, I think that social media has allowed us to just disclose so much. You know, if you're taking a bath or whatever with your child, we don't need to know about that. Social media does not need to be in the know. It is you keep that to yourself. Mm-hmm. And so I guess where is the line? And Benny, you know, made a good point. We need to stop looking for leaders. We need to lead ourselves. So often we're trying to save the world instead of saving ourselves and the people we do have immediate influence over. Like, I'm not going to leave my daughter out there and not mentor her as a young woman and tell her what she should be doing and then go out there and save all, you know, start these organizations to save everybody else. It's just, you know, counterproductive. So once we start with ourselves, then we can start helping everybody else.
It's just too bad that mother-daughter's relationships in the modern age is to crap.
Well, yeah, because the mother and daughters are trying, the mothers are trying to compete with the daughters nowadays. My dad, you know, he often jokes and sometimes a little bit serious, says a lot of times you cannot tell the housewives from the hoes. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times you can't tell the daughters from the mothers. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I'm sure we're going to get into that in a little bit later. And so, again, we just need to draw the line, especially at people like your nature boys. That is utterly ridiculous. And I've watched some of his other videos, and it sounded like they got kicked out of Costa Rica because they were over there illegally. I also saw somebody make a post saying that Nature Boy was in nature, and he spent $300,000 because I guess he has different people sending him money. You know, all these cult followers are sending him money to help with the cause. Like, how many pineapples are you buying with $300,000? So they get kicked out of Costa Rica.
Isn't it funny? All these criminals have the same thing in common: a love for money.
Oh yeah. You want to get away from consumerism and capitalism, but yet you got this, you know, fund where people can send you money. What the hell are you doing with $300,000 in nature? Mm-hmm. Interesting. And so I'm going to move along, and we can continue talking about this because we got a lot of other topics. So our next topic comes from Brian. Brian, who says, what do black men and women need to do to change the climate as far as we are viewed in society? And so I would just ask, well, how are we viewed in society? That's the question I think we need to tackle first. And I would say, just to cover everything, we are viewed negatively, not so good. I put up a video yesterday that was shot, I guess, in the 1950s, and it was a news segment where they were polling and asking all these different white people what they thought about black people. And oh my God, it was horrible. And I think, you know, as it said, nothing has changed. It said, you know, we're liars, we're thieves, we're dirty. we're lazy, our children are stupid, just you name it. All those things were said about us.
And how we bought into that.
Yeah, and we have. And I'm glad you said that. We have bought into that. A lot of it is, I would say that stuff is probably true for every race, but it's not who we are as, a whole. And so what do we need to do to change how we are viewed? I think as Jonelle, which he's not on here, he's still in Facebook jail. I think he is. Oh, wow. I think he's going to be out next week for sure. He always says it's about self-love. Hey, Ben, when we love ourselves, then we can start changing the way others see us, because our self-love will be so evident. When you love yourself, you don't do those things. Not saying that all of us do, but some of us do. And we know that Black people make up less than 13% of the population in America. So, it's always going to look like it's the majority of us, because it's not that much of us. And we also know, as Dr. Claude Anderson says, with the media and things like that, we only own less than 3% of media. And so we don't control the narrative. We don't control the stories that go out about us. And so the stories are negative. So if you're somebody else of another race and you're constantly seeing negative content about Black people, you're always going to think, oh, well, Black people, the Atlanta Housewives, all the Black women are ratchet. All they want to do is have high-end stuff and really don't have no money and talk crazy to their men and, all this other stuff. That's the perception. But it's honestly going to start with self-love. Because when I love myself, I can love my fellow brother or my fellow sister, and it's infectious. So that's where it's going to start. That's how we're going to change. And also, I think we don't need to be so wrapped up into what everybody else thinks of us, because that's distracting us from the overall goal of doing what we got to do to further ourselves as a Black community. If we stay stuck on focusing on, oh my gosh, white people think this of us. Okay, we got to, I hope they like us, because that's how we bought into the whole civil rights movement.
Right. Can I make a comment real quick?
Absolutely.
In regards to that, like right now, you're putting out a very good message. Some of the comments I've read when it comes to your messages are focused on your hair.
Really?
Or on your lips.
Really?
Or, you know what I'm saying? Instead of listening to the message.
I got too big lips. My lips are too big.
Yeah, your lips are too big, or your hair.
I got
don't do
some
something with your hair. But you see what I'm saying? I mean, you're right where you're going when it comes about love. It's also listening to our own versus...
Well, see, those people, and I'm assuming you're talking about that those comments are coming from our people.
Yes.
Okay, so those people, they don't have a knowledge of self. And that's okay with me, because it has nothing to do with me. Trust me, you guys should see some of the inboxes that I seldomly get, but I used to get a lot when I was doing videos. Oh, my God.
You're getting more now.
Oh, God. I was all kind of stuff. You'll be surprised. But that doesn't really bother me. Right. But those type of people, they don't have a knowledge of self. Right. If they did, they wouldn't be focusing on my lips and, my hair and all this other stuff. It's noise. It's a distraction. And so, so Ben, you say, we don't need leaders. You see, history shows us what happens when we have real leaders. They were executed. Yes. They were executed. So I think it kind of scared a lot of other people into taking the lead, made us docile back like when they did in slavery. Okay, I see somebody want to rise up in here. Okay, let's tie this Negro up, horse whip them, and do all the worst to them so we can set an example and scare everybody else into submission. And so that's what happened. So do we need leaders? I think that's debatable. As Benny said, we should be the leaders ourselves, but it would be nice if we're going to have people to lead us, that they would do the right thing and move their self out of the way and stop being so self-serving. I'm not saying that people shouldn't make money for their services, but don't make that overshadow helping our people or be the main cause. Hey, Asada, what's happening? And then Kip, you say, I swear I was just finna say that. I talked so long, I don't know what it was. Benny says, also, we have to learn to understand that you can't get so wrapped up in the messengers versus the actual message. For the messengers are only human, but the message itself is eternal. Forget, let's see, the container, and focus more on the beverages side. No, absolutely. And that's the thing. A lot of times we follow man. We keep following them and we don't hear the message. And then so when our leaders, if you want to call them that, do something, it's like, oh my gosh, it's so terrible. Like take Marcus Garvey, for instance. He got caught up. It was mail fraud, I think to the tune of $25 or less. And so when he went to jail, his whole mission kind of fell apart. You remember he had over 3 million followers worldwide. Now, this is in the 1920s, before social media, really before television and all of that stuff. He had the word had got out about the great things that Marcus Garvey was doing, and mail fraud, and all the other stuff they tried to trump up on him, caused a lot of followers to say, well, back to where we were. So like you said, Benny, it's not that the messenger is important, but what is the messenger saying? And Benny says, stop worrying about what white people think of us. F their thoughts. Yeah, and that's the problem. We get so caught up into that, even to the tune of selling each other out, or talking bad about each other. We think that if we down each other, that's going to give us points with white people.
Well, no, that's a actual true statement, and I could back that up. Steve Harvey, that's where he was getting. He thought he was gonna.
Yeah, but look what happened with Steve Harvey now.
But that's because we took him to task. White people haven't taken him to task.
Well, but again, it wasn't white people white people ultimately started writing him those big old checks, but white people didn't get Steve Harvey where he was, but he forgot that.
Right.
And so, Al, you say Flair wasn't racist. He was good friends with Booker T, Iceman King, Parson, Teddy Long, Tony Atlas, JYD, and The Rock. He had a plethora of black side pieces. Oh my God. And he is buddies with the Atlanta Falcons. Oh gosh. We need to quit quickly calling all white people racist. All right. I mean, wow, you keep telling me I should be the lawyer. I think you should be the lawyer, but I'm sure somebody is going to beg to differ. And Benny says all the real significant leaders from back in the day was trying their best to get us to understand independent thought versus blind faith. Yes. And speaking of blind faith, and we're going to talk about religion in just a second, but you're absolutely right. It's like, follow this religion, that religion, and forget what you see. Just let's go out of this book or whatever the case is. I promise you I'm going to get into that because I had a couple people ask me about religion, which is, awesome. And Charles, what's happening? Says, good evening. Glad to join in. I am so glad you're here too. You thought you missed it, but you didn't. And Hannah says, harming kids have to be the deal breaker. No, absolutely. When you bring kids into it, because what Nature Boy was trying to do, he was trying to normalize what he was doing. Yeah, and that's what it is pedophilia. Like, dude, all right, if you want to rock around the kids naked, do you? I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to tell somebody how to deal with their children. Very unfortunate, but make sure that if that's what you're going to be doing, you do it with your children.
Do it right, but that's what he was saying too. People get nervous when I walk around kids naked. It's like, yeah, like you said, walk around your kids naked. Don't walk around my kids naked, And then Benny say, random thought. I don't like how a woman can accuse a man of something and base on the accusation, not proof. Just the accusation that a man is ruined. Now salute statute of limitations. I know where you're going with this. Like there aren't, let's see, spiteful women out there that do shit like that for fun. And I know exactly what you're talking about. And I'll just go ahead and jump into that since you brought it up really quick. You're talking about, I think, all the things that are going on in Hollywood. All these women now coming out saying that, Charlton Heston in 1953.
Yes, I gotta get paid.
He touched my booty, and all this. And listen, I'm not saying that that didn't happen, but wow, you're going to wait all these years to come out with it. And so I do agree. It's like these men aren't even having an opportunity to prove themselves innocent. Right. There are some guys that's like, whoa. I didn't do that. And so I'm just kind of wondering there, to your point, Ben, is there a little bit of McCarthyism going on to where it's like this witch hunt? Oh, he touched me, like the Scarlet Letter back in the Salem witch hunt days or witchcraft. Back in the day when everybody was accused of being a witch and they were burned at the stake. And so I think we got a little bit of that going on. But I get where you're going with that, Ben. And Hannah says the issue with these camps is these women are trapped out of the country with lack laws. Yes, I've seen some of the women were saying that they were abused as far as Nature Boy's little cult or whatever it was. But yeah, it's like anybody who, I'm old enough to remember Jim Jones in Guyana when he took a plethora of black people with him from Los Angeles and, surrounding areas to Guyana.
Can I make
absolutely
a comment on that? How do you believe this man is Jesus and he's wearing glasses?
Well, again, I can't remember who it was that made the point. It was Benny who made the point, religion or blind faith. versus, what's real. You got this guy who's, kicking you to knowledge, and if you do this and that, we're going to be all right. And, you have people who fall for it. Those of you who follow the Bible, 2 Timothy 2:15 says, study the word to show thyself approved, rightfully dividing the word of truth. Listen, I ain't been to church in a coon's age. Is that such a coon's age?
It's been about 3 years.
It's been long. It's been about 4 or 5 for me. But, to me, if you don't follow the Bible, that makes sense. Study what people are giving you. Okay, that sounds like it could be legit, but let me do my own research so I don't end up over there drinking no cyanide. Right. And so I'm going to move on to the next topic and continue to keep talking about it because I don't see any more comments. I'm going to move on to the next topic. And this one comes from Mr. Al Jackson. He was inquiring about OJ, and he says, is it the final straw? Now, just quickly, OJ was in Vegas, I guess, a week or so ago.
And they trespassed him?
Well, no, not quite.
Yeah, no, he did get trespassed. But go ahead with your story.
Okay. And so what? Ben says, when the woman is found out to be lying, nothing happens to her. If rape is 25 years, she should get the same 25 years for lying. Yeah, I know. I totally agree.
Don't get me on my child support thing.
Guys, don't get Donovan started about this whole naming the father thing when he's not really the father. But no, I agree. I don't think you should be able, because one of my favorite movies is called Doubt. You guys have probably seen it with the late Philip Seymour Hoffman, Meryl Streep, and Viola Davis. He does this sermon, and he's talking about gossip. And he says gossip is like the equivalent of opening up a feather pillow and releasing the feathers into the wind. And then so when and then he says trying to get them back is impossible, to collect every feather. And that's what gossip is. Once the story is out there, it's out there. And the same thing with these stories, like you say, Ben, of these women who are lying. Once the story is out there, especially about somebody who has the public eye, you're always going to think, well, gosh, he was acquitted. But they remember when they said he was touching upon some kids, and you're always gonna it's gonna be synonymous with that person. Yeah. So their damage is so where does the penalty for lying on somebody come in at? And so
I don't know who the father is, but it's not him, it's Jim. No, it's James. There's no consequences for these women who make
and there should be, because then maybe it'll stop. If you just get to name any old dude off the street, I think I slept with him and he's the big daddy.
If you're a hoe and you just don't know, you just don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be, you know what I mean? Just say, I'm not sure. I don't know.
You just don't know.
You just don't know. And rather than just put somebody out there, that person has to go through all of this rigmarole to clear his name.
Remember I sent you that thing of the 4 guys who are fighting, and the DNA has cleared them of being the father, but the courts were like, well, you've been the father all these years.
It's in the child's best interest.
One dude is in for like $65,000 for a child that's not his.
Yeah, it's very sad.
And so Benny, you say, not only religion, we blindly latch on to feel-good doctrine and covenants, like Jim Jones and them. So in doing so, we create a good type stigma around this particular person who delivered it. Yes. And even if you guys look at this nature boy guy, a lot of people are like, oh, they're just messing with you, and that's his thing. He's like, oh, they twisted my words, and I'm being tested. It's like, nah, you ain't being tested. You're being taken to task for some real ill stuff that you were doing and you admitted to doing. I mean, it's like, come on. But yeah, people get wrapped up into the person. And even if they do wrong, it's like, oh, well, it wasn't like that. He's just like, wake up. And I know what you meant. And then so Al, says, Rip to Powers Booth, the polished actor who played Jim Jones. And hey, Donovan, he was also the military movie Southern Comfort with the young Forrest Whitaker.
Yes, I remember, yes.
You two need to stop watching so much damn TV.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll get back to Al's topic. Okay, so he wanted to know about OJ. Is this the last straw for OJ?
Nope. White women are lining up.
He was caught in Las Vegas. Well, I don't know if he was caught in Las Vegas. He was in Las Vegas at a bar or a restaurant, and something got out of hand. They're still trying to piece the story together. But he was basically put out of the bar. People were saying that he was drunk. Well, people around him were saying, well, no, he wasn't drunk. I think he only had one drink. He was cool. He wasn't really doing anything. And so from what I take away from the story is the powers that be, maybe the white people who are in charge at that place, are going to make life hard for OJ.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's also another story. He tried to get into the Arias Hotel, just to go and visit.
And they banned him.
And he was trespassed on the property. They didn't have to give a reason. They said, we don't want you on the property.
They're blackballing OJ. That's what's going on. Because a lot of witnesses says that he wasn't really doing anything wrong. What it is, he's being blackballed because of the murder of Nicole and Ron.
Yeah, they don't want any deaths to
start
happening.
They're mad because he got away with it. Some people say he got away with it, whatever. So,
but he served 9 years.
Come on now, you know, to be a black man in America, if you run over a turtle, your ass is going to be held to the. You're never going to live it down. Yeah. And so he got away in the eyes of a lot of white people with murder. And some black people think he got away with murder too. And so they probably band together just like they doing to Colin Kaepernick. When you see the nigger coming in these doors, you escort him out.
Right.
And so, but then I thought about something deeper with this question is, can a person be decoonified? Decoonified.
No, absolutely not.
I don't even know if that's a word, but can they be decoonified? Once they've cooned it up their whole life, and made people made a living out of being a coon, and then when it, start like Steve Harvey, all goes downhill, it's like, okay, eyes back, you can't do it.
No, you can't come back.
You can't decoonify yourself.
Look at people like in the music business, whatever. Once those sales start declining, you start that separate yourself. You're never going to come back.
You're never going to come back.
I mean, you're going to have your little core of people who are going to support you, but that overall, even Michael Jackson, look how big he was. In the end, when he stopped being black and he turned himself into white.
You know what? But even though Michael Jackson turned white per se, I would say I don't think he ever was a coon.
No, he wasn't a coon. but what I'm saying is, he got a lot of backlash from when.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's just. It's downhill from there. It's just downhill from there.
So you guys, can a person, in relation to OJ, can a person be decoonified? Can they uncoon themselves? Can they stop being a coon? Can it be deprogrammed from being a coon? Donovan says no. I say I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of somebody who was once a coon. I know a lot of people don't like that word, but it is what it is. Yes, Chris, we still own.
Well, the cooning thing, maybe, but you got to do something drastic.
Yeah. Can you guys think of anybody who was ever a coon and then now they're cool with the black community? They stopped cooning and we're like, we love you again. Can you guys think of anybody?
It's hard.
And so, Al, I didn't miss your comment. He said, because he'll get me if I miss his comment. Because my stepdad was a big hoe and everyone knew. Yeah, we see the constant jokes that you make about him from time to time.
Yes.
And you say, baby, that actually was a pun when asking, was this the last straw? Oh, I guess the last straw for OJ, like orange juice straw. Oh, hey, Holly says, Asada, thanks for the reminder. Yes, thank you so much for reminding Holland. So anyway, can a person be decooned? And I'm going to move on to the next topic as you guys are pondering that. And can you guys think of anybody in past or present time that used to be a coon and then they came back and they said, okay, cooning was fun for a time, but I want to be black again, per se, whatever that means. And so I'll move on. All right, Ed Moore. He wants to know about tax reform. Now, y'all know this is really up out of my league, but I do it for y'all. I did the research on tax reform. It's the new tax reform, I guess, that the Trump administration they came out with.
It's not new.
I guess, they done finagle some stuff.
Trickle economics in the 80s, it's the same formula.
But trickle down to who? That's the question.
Right, exactly.
From my end, you know about tax reform.
It's already been debunked that it doesn't work for us.
Well, right. And that's what I was about to say. And so, specifically, Ed wants to know, how is the new tax reform going to help black people? And so I said, okay, let me go do some research on tax reform. Maybe it's something I should know about anyway.
You should.
And so from what I read, it looks like the new tax reform is only going to help business people.
It's not even going to help business people.
And the rich.
It's a certain tax bracket of rich.
Yeah.
The average mom and pop store, it's not going to help them.
Okay.
It basically is going to help corporations.
The uber rich. Okay, And so I thought about this for a little bit. I said, well, how is this going to help black people? Well, now that Donovan kind of debunked what I was going to say, I was going to say if black people started more businesses, then the new tax reform would help us, which we should be doing anyway. If we started our own businesses, we wouldn't be so wrapped up into the tax reform because we are recycling our black dollars.
Right. Now, let me say this. Ever since the Bush tax cuts that became permanent under Obama, you got to remember, we've been giving businesses tax cuts for over 15 years.
Right.
Now, 15 years.
Right.
Worth jobs.
Right. Well, in regards to black people, we are going to have to create our own jobs.
No, I'm just saying we keep giving these businesses tax. The only people that are doing well are people that own businesses.
Right. Well, we got to start owning some businesses.
But what I'm saying is they're not creating any jobs with that tax cut.
Correct.
So that's the problem. We're giving them a tax cut, giving them more money.
It's all smoke and mirrors.
Right, of course.
Yeah, it's all smoke and mirrors. And hey, William, you say, and then Holland says, hello to me. Hello. And William says, supposedly, W.E.B. Du Bois. Now, what is that exactly? Because maybe I miss what you're referring to him about, but refresh my memory. And Hannity says, if the motivation is I get it, about being decodified. Yes. I'd be talking so much, I'll be forgetting what I'm talking. Yes. Okay, so was W.E.B. Du Bois decodified because he had this theory, he went in with the NAACP, this theory of let's get along within the system. Listen, black people, I know white people don't really like us and they probably just lynched 5 more people as I'm making this speech, but we need to try to get along within the system. Let's try to get jobs with the white people. He was really for integration or civil rights, I guess you can say, before it became popular in the 50s and the 60s. And so you're saying that he decodified. So at one point in time, did he come back over? Because I don't really recall that, but because I don't know. So do tell me.
Well, now she brought that up. Stokely Carmichael.
Stokely Carmichael, he decodified himself?
Yeah, well, remember, because he was with Martin Luther King at first, and, and the SLLC, and they were very nonviolent, and they tried to go along with the program. Then he said, fuck this shit.
Well, I guess it's just really, did he wake up, or was he really out there cooning? Well, was he just, because did he think what Martin Luther King was doing was right?
Well, yeah, okay. When you put it like that, yeah.
So, yeah, he wasn't really out there scat dancing for the man, per se. Okay, so we're going to take Stokely Carmichael off the list. And then Hannah says, if the motivation is an epiphany on his own, if it's because of rejection from whitey. No, yeah, and that's a good point. But normally we know that's how people try to stop cooning. It's like, okay, white people, they use me up. And so now I need to try to go back home. But black people,
we're very forgiving. We are very forgiving.
You know what the weird part about this? I was going to say, we are forgiving when it comes to white people, but when it comes to us, hell no.
Right. Well, and rightly so, because you should know better from the get-go.
Right. So we take our own to the woodshed for real. And then so Hannity says, Colin Powell, in my opinion, never a coon, just a Republican. Now that's actually a good example, because Colin was cooning a little bit. Well, I think he was always aware. And like you said, he was a Republican, so he's doing the things that Republicans do. Although I don't ever remember a time, I could be wrong, that Colin was cooning. So I think that is actually a good example.
Well, I have to disagree with you. When you're a soldier, and especially a general in the military, you are a constant coon.
Oh, so he says if you're in the military, and Donovan did 24 years, so was you a coon?
Yes, because I have to go along with what they're telling me to do.
Okay, so he's saying that if you're in the military, you're kind of like a constant coon. But I want to defend that a little bit. I wouldn't say you was a coon per se. I think because a lot of you guys, and happy Veterans Day to you guys. I meant to say that at the top of the show. I think you guys went in to do a service and did what you had to do. But I wouldn't say unless you was up in there cooning.
Well, like I said, when you're the Joint Chief of Staff and you're representing the military, and the president is telling you, like you see these generals surrounding this chump right now,
right?
They're cooning. That's what you're there to do. You are a coon.
Okay, I never.